What happens when television's most fearless host meets Hollywood's most controversial duchess? You won't believe what unfolds when Andy Cohen faces off against Meghan Markle in a confrontation that shocked viewers worldwide. This isn't just another celebrity interview gone wrong. This is the moment when two powerful personalities collided in spectacular fashion, leading to one of the most dramatic exits in late-night television history. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below because you're not going to believe what unfolds. The tension was palpable from the moment Meghan Markle stepped onto the set of Watch What Happens Live. Dressed in an expensive cream blazer and sporting her trademark knowing smile, she settled into the iconic club chair with an air of confidence that would soon transform into something far more volatile. Andy Cohen, never one to shy away from difficult questions, had clearly done his homework. "Meghan, welcome back to the clubhouse," Andy began, his tone deceptively casual as he shuffled through his signature blue cards. "Let's dive right in. There's been quite a bit of chatter about your latest business ventures, and some interesting timing coincidences." Meghan's smile tightened, almost imperceptibly. "Andy, I'm always happy to talk about the positive work we're doing through Archewell and my various projects." "Of course," Andy nodded, leaning forward slightly. "But speaking of timing, isn't it curious how your major announcements always seem to coincide with significant royal family moments? The pregnancy announcement during Eugenie's wedding, the Oprah interview right before Philip's funeral preparations, and now this Netflix deal announcement just as Catherine was launching her early childhood initiative." The studio audience fell silent as Meghan's composure began to crack. Her perfectly manicured fingers gripped the arm of her chair. "I think that's a rather unfair characterization, Andy. We don't coordinate our lives around anyone else's schedule." "Really?" Andy pressed, his voice taking on that particular edge viewers knew all too well, because the pattern seems pretty consistent. Some might call it strategic timing. Meghan's laugh was sharp and brittle. "Some people will always try to find controversy where none exists. That says more about them than it does about me." The atmosphere in the studio grew increasingly charged as Andy continued his line of questioning. "Let's talk about your recent claims regarding the children's book market. You've positioned yourself as bringing fresh perspectives to children's literature, but critics have pointed out some striking similarities between The Bench and several existing works." "That's absolutely ridiculous," Meghan snapped, her voice rising for the first time. "Every story about parental love might have similarities, but that doesn't mean anything untoward happened." "But when you're charging premium prices and marketing yourself as an innovative voice," Andy continued relentlessly, "don't you think consumers deserve complete originality?" Meghan's mask was slipping entirely now. "I don't appreciate the implication in your question, Andy. Are you suggesting I've plagiarized someone?" "I'm not suggesting anything," Andy replied smoothly. "I'm asking you to respond to what others are saying." "What others?" Meghan demanded, her voice growing sharper. "Anonymous trolls on social media? Bitter royal correspondents? People who've never created anything in their lives?" Andy leaned back, sensing he'd struck a nerve. "Actually, I'm referring to children's literature experts and copyright lawyers who've gone on record with their concerns." The tension reached a boiling point as Meghan stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "This is exactly the kind of treatment I was talking about in the Oprah interview. The constant questioning, the impossible standards, the refusal to accept that a woman of color might actually be capable of original thought." "Meghan, please sit down," Andy said, his tone shifting to something more measured. "This isn't about race, and you know it. These are legitimate questions about business practices and timing. Don't you dare tell me what this is or isn't about," Meghan fired back, her voice now carrying through the entire studio. "You've been gunning for me since I walked in here. This was supposed to be a friendly conversation about my work, not an ambush." Andy's eyes flashed. "An ambush? Meghan, these are basic questions any public figure should be prepared to answer. If you can't handle straightforward inquiries about your business ventures, maybe you shouldn't be in business." The studio fell dead silent as those words hung in the air. Meghan's face flushed with anger as she processed what Andy had just said. "Excuse me, did you just question my right to run a business?" "I questioned your preparedness to answer questions about it," Andy clarified, but his tone remained firm. "There's a difference." Meghan's composure completely shattered. "This is unbelievable. I came here as a courtesy, to promote positive initiatives, and you've turned it into a character assassination. You're sitting there in your little kingdom, judging everyone who walks through that door. My little kingdom? Andy repeated, his eyebrows raised. Meghan, this is literally my show. You agreed to come on knowing exactly what kind of host I am. I thought I was dealing with a professional, Meghan shot back. Not someone who gets his kicks from tearing down women who've actually accomplished something. The audience began to shift uncomfortably as the confrontation escalated beyond typical television drama. Andy's producer could be seen gesturing frantically from behind the cameras, but both host and guest seemed oblivious to anything except their heated exchange. Accomplished something? Andy's voice took on a dangerous edge. Meghan, you married into the royal family and then spent 2 years complaining about it. Your biggest accomplishment seems to be monetizing your grievances. Meghan's mouth fell open in shock. How dare you? How dare you reduce my entire life's work to that? I was advocating for social justice before I ever met Harry, and I'll be doing it long after people forget your name. Social justice? Andy laughed. But there was no humor in it. Is that what we're calling Netflix deals and Spotify contracts now? Because last I checked, social justice doesn't come with 8-figure payouts. The words hit their mark. Meghan's entire body tensed as she stared at Andy with undisguised fury. You know what, Andy? This interview is over. I don't have to sit here and listen to this garbage. Actually, you do have a contract, Andy replied coolly. We're live television, Meghan. You can't just walk away because you don't like the questions. Watch me, Meghan snarled, reaching for her purse. I've dealt with hostile media before, but this is something else entirely. You're not a journalist. You're a tabloid host with delusions of grandeur. Andy's face darkened. And you're a celebrity who thinks being royal adjacent makes you untouchable. Newsflash, Meghan. This isn't Montecito, and I'm not one of your handlers. The insult landed like a physical blow. Meghan's hands shook as she gathered her belongings. Handlers? You think I have handlers? You wouldn't last 5 minutes dealing with the pressure I face every single day. The pressure of what? Andy demanded. Making millions while complaining about your privileged life? Please. Something snapped in Meghan's demeanor. All pretense of media training and royal protocol vanished as she turned to face Andy with pure rage in her eyes. You have no idea what you're talking about. None. You sit in your comfortable little studio, protected by your network, asking gotcha questions and thinking you're some kind of truth teller. I am a truth teller, Andy shot back. And the truth is, you can't handle being challenged. Every time someone asks you a real question, you play the victim card. Victim card? Meghan's voice reached a crescendo. I'm not playing anything. I'm done with this entire charade. You want ratings? Here's your moment. With that, Meghan Markle ripped off her microphone, the feedback screeching through the studio speakers. She threw the mic pack onto the coffee table with such force that Andy's blue cards scattered across the floor. This is exactly why traditional media is dying, she declared, her voice carrying without amplification. Because of people like you who mistake cruelty for journalism. Andy stood up now too, his own anger finally boiling over. And this is exactly why people are tired of celebrities who think they're above accountability. You came on my show, Meghan. If you couldn't handle the heat, you should have stayed home. Meghan turned toward the studio exit, then paused, spinning back around for one final devastating blow. You know what, Andy? I feel sorry for you. This little power trip you're on, tearing down guests to make yourself feel important, it's pathetic. History will remember me for the change I've created. You'll just be a footnote. History will remember you as the woman who couldn't hack it as a royal. Andy called after her, his voice carrying across the stunned studio. And apparently can't hack it as a talk show guest either. That was the breaking point. Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, former actress, and self-proclaimed humanitarian, stormed off the set of Watch What Happens Live in full view of the cameras, leaving behind a trail of chaos and one of the most explosive moments in late-night television history. The cameras continued rolling as Andy Cohen stood alone on his set, the scattered blue cards at his feet, having just witnessed what would become one of the most talked-about celebrity meltdowns of the year.